Welcome to the Creating Clarity podcast, where we talk all about clearing the fog, shifting our focus, and uncovering the opportunities that are hidden right in front of us. I'm your host, Dr. Liz Aguirre. Before I begin, I must emphasize that this work is separate from my professional medical work and does not represent medical advice or opinions of any specific organization. Welcome back to the Creating Clarity podcast. Today is a great episode because I honestly have not sat down to record it. And I was just sitting here with Derick as we're watching our kids on the playground. And we realized, wow, we are coming quickly to the end of season 2. And the final episode was supposed to be an episode with Derick and I. And we were going to talk about next season and what's in store. So, babe, I'm going to let you talk a little bit because what I want to focus on next season is resistance. And, you know, we spent this entire season talking about how taking care of ourselves will improve our lives. Prioritizing and saying me first will allow us to, you know, live a more full and abundant and joyful life. But it's so hard to do it. We resist it. Even though we need to do it, we resist it. So I'm going to hand the phone over to you, and I just want you to ramble a little bit and talk about resistance and, you know, maybe help us shift our mindset a little bit about what resistance really does to us.
Yes. Actually, I was just talking to Liz right now, and I was telling her that resistance is almost like the thief of joy, because when you resist, it's kind of a form of tense, stress, tensing yourself. So I was telling someone the other day, and this is a metaphor. So, you know, just imagine, I don't know if anybody's heard this saying before, but if you've ever heard someone say, "He that shall save his life shall lose it, and he who loses his life for the sake of others will gain it." And really what that is, imagine breathing in really hard and then just holding your breath and tensing up. I mean, obviously what's going to happen, your oxygen is going to go down, and you need to breathe, right? So that's the metaphor of losing your life. You hold it in and you don't let go. He that shall lose his life for the sake of others shall gain it, meaning you let go, you breathe out. And I always like the word nirvana, because really what that word means is it just means to outblow. It means blowing out, which really it just means letting go. So when we learn to let go and we go with the flow of life, what happens? So breathe out, right? You let it go, breathe out. What happens? You just breathe right back in. You breathe. It's a fresh energy now.
So I think the interesting thing is, I think what you're getting at and what you're alluding to is we make it harder by resisting.
Exactly.
If we breathe in and we're holding our breath saying, no, we're not going to let it go and I'm going to get all the oxygen, it starts to hurt. It starts to feel uncomfortable, but it's because we're resisting the natural process of breathing. And I think life is like that. We resist the things that are happening around us. And if we change that and say, you know what, and this is one of my favorite empowering thoughts, everything happens exactly as it should. So when we resist that, we're resisting the things that are supposed to be. Actually, here's a good example. I missed the girls' championship volleyball game. So I helped coach their volleyball team this year. And we had an undefeated season. And the championship game ended up being on the day that I had to fly out for a Tony Robbins conference, Unleash the Power Within. So my undefeated team went into the championship without one of their coaches. And I could have resisted that in my mind and just been upset about it and let that, play on repeat in my mind. And I would have just continued to be upset about it. But the reality was I was going to this very important conference that I knew was going to be life-changing and I knew I was going to get so much value out of. But if I had hung on to that moment of not having things exactly the way I wanted them to be, then I would have missed the opportunity on the other end where I had so much to gain. And so it's that resistance that we're talking about. When you're resisting the current circumstances, we have to remember that you're not going to be able to change the facts and the things that are true. But there are certain things that we have a lot of control over. So a lot of time we mistake true circumstances with our beliefs.
It's really our response to the things around us. We can't change the outside, really. I mean, we can to an extent, but we have complete control over ourselves, right? So it's the response that really matters. And how do you want to respond to life? Do you want to respond joyfully, or do you want to respond with stress, resisting what is? So basically, whatever's happening, how we respond to it controls the quality of the meaning, the perception, our emotions.
Yeah, so you always used to say, babe, like I would get really frustrated about something and I'd be like, you don't understand. I don't have a choice. And what is it that you would always tell me?
I mean, there's always a choice. Like, you're never stuck. Being stuck is really just it's an illusion, basically, because you're never stuck. You always can respond. So what I like to say is the word responsibility, right? If I tell someone, are you responsible for this or for that? You automatically think, no, I'm not responsible for something outside of me. Actually, you are, because all that means is, think of the word responsible. You're able to respond. So when you say you're not responsible for something, what you're really saying is you're not able to respond. Therefore, you're trapped. You're stuck.
Yeah, that's so good. And the truth is, we have a choice. But so again, and I say this relating back to season 2, because I'm preaching like we need to get enough sleep. And actually, like right now, I could be frustrated that there's a kid in the background crying, or I can say, you know what? This message is going to be received in exactly the way it needs to be received. And somebody is going to hear this and they're going to still hear the message. They're not going to hear the kid crying in the background. So that really doesn't matter. But if I'm focused on perfection and I'm resisting this current circumstance, the circumstance is there's a kid crying in the background. If I'm resisting that, I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to say, never mind, I'll just have to do this later. And then, this doesn't get done, or I'm rushed to get it done at the last minute. And so allowing to go with the flow and just not resist this circumstance is helpful. But as it relates to season 2 of the podcast, so many times we say, well, that's easy for you to say, I don't have time, or I don't have a choice, or, I have too many responsibilities, working out, or my sleeping, or my eating right, or my relationship. That's not a priority right now. But we're resisting ourselves. Like, we know we're unhappy and we know we need a change. We know we need more sleep, and we're resisting that. And we're forcing ourselves to do the other things that we think in our mind we need to be doing. We think we need to be doing these things, and we're resisting the very things that our body needs to really be able to live a life that we're feeling happy and we're feeling rested and we feel like we can enjoy time, like with our, the things that are important. What else?
Well, I was just saying, like, we have it opposite, right? So when we resist in that sense, really what we're doing is we're trying to get the outside environment aligned to our inner environment. We're trying to control the outside environment. It should be flipped, right? We should learn how to respond appropriately the way we want to respond to the outside environment. And when that happens, you're in alignment, right? Because if you choose to respond the way you want to respond, and you're aligning with that outside environment, but internally, what all that means, it's developing, that's happiness, because you are basically, what you're saying is you have control.
You're doing what you want to do.
You're doing what you want to do, yeah.
Because so many times it's like, as I speak about all these things that are important for our well-being, you guys know this. You know when you need more sleep, and you know when you need to take that time out to really reconnect with your spouse or your kids. Like, we know that, but when we're in the middle of the struggle, we resist it. We're like, I can't do that, or I don't have a choice. But what you're saying is listen to our internal body. Don't try to resist what our body knows inside it needs. Yeah, right?
Right, yeah. Don't try to change the outside, because you don't don't have a lot of control over that, but you have a lot of control of how you want to respond.
Yeah.
If you respond joyfully, I mean, what does it matter what's happening outside? You're responding joyfully inside. So that's what I mean when I say you are able to respond. So when you're able to respond, you're free.
Yeah.
Because you're completely free. You can choose the way you want to respond to the environment. You're not trying to change the environment to align with what's in you at that moment, right?
Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, like, we are going to spend, and I say we, because Derick and I spend a lot of time talking about these things, mostly because I have spent so much time resisting them. So next season, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Derick and I, and, me jumping on and talking about resistance in certain parts of my life. And, maybe for those of you, it will resonate for certain aspects of your life as well. But the whole goal here is to really get clear on, where our resistance is, where we really want to focus our efforts, where we want to spend our energy, and where we want to stop wasting time. We spend so much time on things that we don't want to do, and we're resisting reality. And the reason we're resisting is because we're going against what we want to do and doing something else instead. So that really is a big mindset shift that took me a long time to figure out. But anyway, that's what's coming up for season 2. And I tell you what, I am always just kind of reflecting on past challenges I've had and just sharing that experience, because now when I'm in a more peaceful, rested state with less resistance, I see things so much more differently. I see them more clearly, and it takes practice. I still get called out every single day by Derick, who is pointing it out, and having that person to hold me accountable and just remind me when I'm falling backwards, and remind me when I'm in a little rut, and reminding me to, just open up and stop resisting. That goes a long way. So,
yeah. And it's really about, a lot of people know this, but it's really about awareness. When we're in those states and, the outside environment may not be how we want it exactly at that moment. Really, it's just stepping back, taking a few breaths, and just being aware of your emotions. And that by itself will kind of minimize the impact or lessen the strength these emotions have over you, just by noticing them. And it's very powerful. And then at that point, when you step back, then you're able to respond, because you have that power now. You're not the emotions not in control of you anymore. You're in control, and you can, like I said, you can choose how you want to respond, and you're free.
Yeah. All right, so that's it for season 2. Thank you, everybody who joined me and Derick this season, and thank you to all the special guests that we had. And season 3, I think it's going to be amazing, because guess what? I'm taking a break and putting me first. I'm taking several weeks off, and it'll be about 6 weeks before, I think maybe, let's see, mid-January into January, when we'll launch season 3. But if you're following me on social media, you'll hear all about it. I'm going to be having more of a presence on LinkedIn, because I want people in the professional world to hear this and to understand that they can have happy, fulfilling careers and happy lives. And that took me so long to make that connection. And even now I fall backwards, but constantly working on it and reminding myself and, sharing my message with others has really helped me to come to a place with a more joyful, peaceful, loving world, and brings happiness to me within and to the people around me, because I'm a better person. So we will see you guys all next season for season 3 of the Creating Clarity podcast.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit subscribe so that you won't miss the next episode. And if you like this episode, please share it with a friend and give me a 5-star review so that I can reach more people. I'll see you next week. If you are hosting a conference, think about starting the event with a mindset talk. When you help the group collectively shift their mindset, the ideas will flow and new opportunities become much more clear. Visit my website, lizagarymd.com, and fill out a contact form to learn how you can book me as a keynote speaker for your next event.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions shared here are for information and educational purposes only. They do not serve as a medical or professional advice. They do not represent any academic, medical, or professional institution or organization. If you found this helpful, don't forget to leave a 5-star review.
Thank you.